that up.
Okay.
Oh, and I froze again. Huh, I'm not sure what's going on here. All right, well, let's hope that now that it's up, we're good. Okay. So last time we're looking at our wall here. This is our last section. And so we know that there's lots of characteristics of successful foster parents. And here we're going to build in our last three. And so we're going to be looking at our trustworthiness, our being emotionally supportive, and attunement. And we want to be able to provide stable, nurturing, safe homes for our youth. And so how do we do that? We talked yesterday about
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Michelle, don't apologize. I always forget that your phone announces the number or who's calling, and it catches me off guard that it talks. We talked yesterday that FFT model really comes from that family lens, that it really looks at prioritizing relationships, that is very relationship based. And so we know that that's part of providing that stable and nurturing. We know that you have talked about with Michelle and Nellie throughout that we're going to be proactive. We want to make sure there's structure and consistency, that we're going to talk about setting the expectations and reviewing them for everybody in the home. And that we're also going to make sure that we have a crisis plan in place. How are we going to manage behaviors? You know that there's that on-call system, and that you're never going to be alone in this journey. And yesterday in the FFT model, we talked about that there's this whole behavior change phase. We're going to really focus on how do we make little adjustments, and then how do we take those adjustments to our two behaviors and assimilate them and generalize them to other environments. Michelle, anything to add?
Just with that pyramid grid, just recognizing, and we had talked about this before, as far as like spending as much time with the child, there's going to be a lot of time in getting to know the child. It's going to take we recognize that it's going to take some time, but as you continue to build that relationship with the child and you're creating that structure and that consistent expectation, it can help with de-escalating a situation. So as far as like the pyramid grows, the bottom is getting to know, and as you kind of like focus in, it's targeting that area, so that way having a positive relationship with the child, and utilizing the supports that are in place, being able to create that safe environment for that child, so that way the child can start hopefully managing their emotions.
Yeah, that's such a great point, that each level builds on the previous one. Okay. Oh, I've got to share my sound. Sorry, give me 1 second. Okay. Can you just give me a thumbs up if you can hear this?
Denisha, get up, baby. Morning. Cindy, you want to get up and start making your bed, baby? Get up. And you should be out in a minute. Okay. Adrian. Adrian. Come on, baby. Time to get up.
I'm tired.
I know you guys are tired, but you got to get up. Cassie. Come on, baby. You're sleeping good. Or you being silly? I've been a foster parent for at least 27 years. I've had all kind of kids to come in and out of my home, but I try to conquer them all. Me feel good when I get a child that I have really helped. I don't want a child that I'm not doing nothing for. They just here eating and sleeping and going to school. I like challenge. And I think I might have asked for too much challenge because sometimes I really get it. But so far, so good. Okay, it's time for our morning prayer. Okay, you guys grab hands. You want to pray first, Cindy?
Yeah. God protect us every day, keep us safe. In Jesus' name, amen.
What a quick prayer. Denisha, can you do it? Cassie, you want to pray? Okay, go on. Very good. Very good, Cassie. Only God knows what you're saying, but that's very good. Lord, we ask you to bless these kids as they leave this morning going to school. Ask you to protect them, Lord, and keep them safe in their classroom, on the playground. Let them be respectful to their teacher. Bless their knowledge, Lord. Let them be alert in what they're doing in class.
Amen. Amen.
All right.
I was about 8 when I got in foster care. My parents were doing drugs and stuff. Like, they were just drinking drugs, being bad. I was abandoned, and I was abused, and I was mistreated, and like no one showed that they cared for me. I've been here going on 5 years. At first, I was very depressed. I didn't think like no one would ever want me, and that like something was wrong with me, and I didn't like, I don't know, I didn't know that I could actually be loved again or ever.
So before we watch this next one, does anybody have any thoughts or comments on the first one? Okay. I didn't want to not give. If anybody had a strong emotional reaction, I didn't want to not leave space for that. Okay. Let's go on and we'll make sure we leave time to talk about all of them together as well. I lied. It didn't change the slide. Sorry. Okay. So let's talk about some of the structure that she established in her home. What did you see in her home as a foster parent that she had done to create the consistency?
Before they leave the house, they pray.
Yeah.
Right, that's the impression that they get, that this is something that she normally does on a daily basis. 'Cause the kids kind of already knew, like, okay. Right? Giving, giving the kids the opportunity to stay quiet, you know, and being able to acknowledge that.
Yeah.
How about getting them up in the morning? Because sometimes that could be a struggle. That can be a struggle for us adults.
Yeah, and it seemed like they had a morning routine, right? It seemed like she would wake them all up. They had their own individualized way to get dressed, do their hygiene, and then there was that coming together before they left. Michelle, do you want to talk a little bit about um, like a prayer circle in your home, or how it, you know, if a child doesn't want to participate?
So I know for, like, even for myself at nighttime is when I usually do a prayer with the kids. Giving them the option, like it, just like in the video, giving them the option to say something or just to add something, but not pushing the issue. And as far as like in the morning, or especially getting ready for school, it's keeping myself regulated, right? Because there's place, like, the time continues to move on, but the kids are having a hard time getting up, getting ready. They're moving in slow motion. So I just try to keep them moving along. But again, being mindful as to the tone of voice and giving myself a minute, so that way, you know, to help them get them where they need to be and heading out the door.
And this slide gives some great ideas for where you can create rituals and routines. And Michelle, I think you make a great point in that we can allow space for flexibility within all of these, that we can establish that structure and still allow the child to participate to the limit where they're comfortable. Any other ideas where you might want to create a ritual or a routine within your home?
Yeah, I think I would like to be able to say good night, sleep tight, and I'll see you in the morning.
I love that. A way to close the day.
Right,
And also send the message that I'm going to be here tomorrow.
right.
Anybody else?
I like the prayer. I will continue like what this lady did with the prayer, because that's what I do with my grandson now. I was like we was about to leave for the airport yesterday. I was like, pray us out, give us a prayer before we leave. I usually let him do it because I'm encouraging him to pray. So I'd say for him to pray and then we pray. I will continue that ritual.
I love that. And again, letting that child, if they want to say something out loud,
Mm-hmm.
maybe just giving them a moment to say it to themselves. Maybe there's a youth that comes in. These kids were all comfortable with each other, right? They were comfortable touching each other, holding hands. Maybe there's a youth that's not comfortable holding hands. Maybe they just want to stand in the circle, right? But they aren't quite comfortable with touch yet. And so giving them
Correct.
the option to be a part of it without holding hands. So I love the idea of the ritual, and again, giving them meeting them where they're at for it.
Even a ritual could, like even going to church on Sundays. They have to go to, come to church on Sunday, most Sunday morning.
So a little bit of self-disclosure. I did kinship care at one point, and we made a ritual. Every Friday night was pizza night. And so that became our thing.
Oh, cool.
It might have been a little selfish. I might have just been too tired to cook at the end of the week, but don't tell the kids that.
And maybe they could come up with something if it, in reason, that's reasonable. They might have something that they might want to do, on a regular.
Yeah.
Being able to incorporate that,
Yes.
right? Because you have a routine, but giving that youth the option to be included in that routine. So it's gonna be a little compromising potentially. Right?
But it also will make them feel included, right? They had an idea, it became incorporated. Now there's something about them included in the household.
Mhm.
So we've kind of been talking a little bit about this, right? How do we balance needing to have the structure and the routine and the rituals and that rule and the rules with this flexibility and the need to meet the client or the youth, excuse me, where they're at, as well as just saying, we're not doing what's on the schedule today. Let's go do this. Let's just go outside and run around. So how do we balance all of that?
On the occasion when the routine is not working, sometimes it's a good idea just to say, let's go to the beach. Forget it.
Change it up.
Trying to do homework, we're trying to cook dinner, we're trying to do all of this. Let's just go to McDonald's and go to the beach and give everybody a break, you know?
Yeah. Doreen, you're absolutely right. Maybe it's just things are not working on any front and you need to mix it up.
Mhm.
What about giving a youth choices within that structure and within that routine?
Right. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Just, like the kids today, I could see so much of what we're doing here in become practical in my job too, you know. Um, so we have a bunch of pretty much autistic group, and there are a couple of them that don't like to stay on schedule, but promises of, okay, when you finish this, then we do that. So that's working. Um, or sometimes when that doesn't work, we give them a little break. Let's go for a walk down the hall. Um, oh, one child too, yeah, he was flipping out because he wanted to be in the front of the line, and one of the counselors pulled him back to the back of the line. And so he was having an episode over it, and panting and everything, and I just offered him a drink, and just offering him a drink started to bring it down. I mean, I wouldn't think it was be hungry or anything like that, but just because he was breathing so hard, I offered him a drink, and he calmed right down. He took the drink, and I'm like, okay, wow.
Yeah, you met his need, right?
Yeah.
That was a great catch. But I
Mm,
think also, right, maybe we're gonna toe the line. Listen, you have to wear clothes. It's pretty much a non-negotiable. But
mm,
do you want to wear stripes or polka dots? Do you want to
mm,
wear sneakers or Crocs? Giving them some choices within
mm,
the overall limit. Um, we're having hamburgers for dinner. Do you want carrots or broccoli as your vegetable? So again, giving them some choices where it is. It's time to get ready for bed. Do you want to put on your pajamas or brush your teeth first? Michelle, anything to add in this?
No, I know that, and as Doreen, shared her example, I brought on, um, uh, uh, a situation that I recalled in the moment, and the youth was having a difficult week due to a visit. A foster mom gave that youth space, and they were supposed to be doing I can't recall, they were doing something, and the foster mom completely changed it up, and recognizing like the child, yes, was having a difficult time, but she felt like, let's do something fun and out of the ordinary just to distract the child a little bit. And after they did that activity, the child afterwards opened up and started to express and say what was wrong, how we were, what were they feeling and what were they thinking. And so that spontaneous, I can't say the word.
Spontaneous activity.
Yeah, so that change, and normally on this particular foster mom tends to be, tends to follow her, like her schedule, but that time recognized that child just needed that break. And so was able to get out of her own routine in order to help that child through that difficult time.
Yeah. I love that. Thanks for sharing that real life example, Michelle.
Yeah.
Okay.
What time is it?
7:45.
Okay, the bus should be here in a minute. Cassie has autism. Sweet little girl, beautiful little girl. Has a lot of problems that she's not responsible for.
No,
Come on, come on.
no.
Come on, Cassie. Come on. Cassie. Cassie, you gotta get on the bus. Okay, the bus gotta go. They're gonna go without you. I'll go to the door. Okay, come on. Please. You think she'll be all right on the bus?
Yesterday she bit me again.
Oh my God. Oh, she'll be okay. She's never acted. You know what? Maybe I should just take her. Come on, Cassie. Come on, Cassie. Come on.
I got you. Come on.
All right, let's talk about that in relation to this pyramid. So if we talk about the relationship between foster mom and Cassie, any thoughts on that?
It felt like she was her safe space. She wanted to be with her because that's the person that she felt most comfortable with.
Yeah, I would agree. It definitely seemed like foster mom was in tune to the fact that Cassie seemed to be having a really difficult morning, that this was not the typical pattern. Other thoughts?
There might be a problem on the bus. Maybe some issue with somebody on the bus, possibly.
Yeah.
And
We've
yeah,
no way of knowing, right? What
right,
happened yesterday, the day before, is there someone new? It's
right. And foster mom recognized that something's different. Yeah.
What about when they were in the driveway and Cassie started to uh it sounded like she was saying no, and then she ran around the side of the car. How do you feel like foster mother handled that?
I think she handled it well. Um, in my view, she made a step forward, not physically a step forward, but she tried to get closer to her. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And when given that that was working, she stepped back a little bit. I think that's what I observed.
Yeah.
Then she called her back.
Did foster mother yell? Did
No,
she seem to panic? Did she stay calm? Did she
right.
call for help? How did she handle herself?
Very calm demeanor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would agree. She seemed to stay really calm.
In both her body language and her
Right.
words.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well. I would agree. And how about how foster mom interacted with, I'm going to say it was an aide on the bus. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was a driver. Maybe it was a teacher. I don't know. But for the purpose of this discussion, how about how foster mom interacted with that aide?
I
I
don't
almost missed that part. It seemed so eventless. I mean,
Yeah.
it
I,
didn't, it was courteous. It was,
Mhm.
like how you should expect to be treated.
Yeah.
Um,
I was gonna say the same thing. She wasn't argumentative, she wasn't
yeah,
confrontational, she was just,
yeah.
friendly.
Yeah, she was very actually professional, right?
Yeah.
She just said, "Hey, I'll take her. I'll take her."
Yeah.
Right? She didn't demand that they send her off the bus. She said like, "Hey, do you think she'll be okay?" She was just having a conversation. And so she exemplified staying calm the entire way through. Michelle, any thoughts?
With her, with the video and her remaining calm, she was still concentrating on the child's safety.
Great
You
point.
know, and I think with her asking the aide or the bus driver or both, however that was, like it was almost like a check-in, like to make sure that she's okay, and then she took that as and just asked her to come back. Because it could have been a situation that could have potentially escalated on the bus. But she remained calm in it and kept the safety of the child in the forefront, but potentially even the other kids on the bus too.
Yeah.
If she was that out of, if she was that revving, she was kind of still revving on the bus, that could trigger the other kids as well.
Mhm. And what I noticed as well is, according to the pyramid, with her prioritizing the relationship by saying, I'll take her, that not only reassured the child, but made her a priority for getting to school, but still feeling safe with the person that she's going to school with.
Yeah, right, absolutely. And I think as we talked about her saying like I'll take her, right? And so she prioritized that relationship, but she was also proactive. She was proactive in saying, I see that she's still screaming. I see that she's uncomfortable. Let me be proactive before we get to the point of her escalating when this bus pulls away. All right, so let's talk about how we can enhance the relationship, how we can keep that focus. We know statistics show that our nonverbals count much more than the words coming out of our mouth. People pay attention to our facial expressions, to our hands, to our smiles, all of that. That communicates a whole lot more than the actual words, as does our tone of voice. And so one of the things that we want to be able to do with our kids is we want to keep those in check. I think we talked so much about her words, about foster mother's voice, but we did, okay, let me back up. We talked a lot about the things foster mother said in that video, but we also talked a lot about how calm her tone of voice was, how she was willing to stay by the child's side, how she hugged her. So all of the nonverbals were there from foster mother too. We want to be able for our kids to celebrate the small things. And Michelle, I'm actually going to let you talk about this because you have so many great examples of how we celebrate the small things, that we don't have to wait until it's a birthday to do something exciting.
Yeah, I mean, in celebrating the small things and just being able to recognize that, you know, acknowledging a child going through a day without, you know, and normally the child may come into the home and have an outburst, and that one day the child walks in and calmly walks in through the door. Being able to recognize that and voice that for the child. But just the little things that they do, at times we find ourselves, that we're repeating ourselves over and over, like, oh, it's time to, it's this time, it's time to take a shower, or, oh, you finished eating, go clear your place setting, go put it in the sink. And the moment that a child does it without that prompt, acknowledging it doesn't have to be a major, like, a whole show, but it could just be a simple acknowledgement of it. And when we acknowledge those things, no matter how small and no matter how big, the child starts to feel, in a sense, proud of themselves as well. And they start to see it. I remember one kid, and I believe they finished their homework and walked over and gave it to their foster parent. The foster parent is looking it over and just put it to the side. And the child says, "Hey, I finished my homework. Aren't you gonna say I did a good job?" So they also they recognize that normally it would be that particular child normally would have been the foster parents, "Hey, oh, did you take your homework out of your book bag? Oh, come on, take it out. Let's go do your homework." And it would be a whole 30-minute process. But that time when he accomplished it on his own, it was quite cute, I must say.
And all of this is to say, like, we also get that a kid should put on their own socks. A kid should make their bed. A kid should bring the dishes to the sink. But many of these kids were so consumed with, how am I going to survive? Where is my next meal coming from? That putting on their socks correctly was the least of their concerns. And so we want to recognize these small things. We want to come from that strengths perspective for them. And like Michelle said, help build them up. And so recognizing even some of those day-to-day routines that we expect them to be doing is helpful. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I used to give my
Okay, go
when I
ahead.
was dealing with youngsters, I used to give them like high five. Like when they do something, high five, or do a little silly dance. Or I remember one time I used to have this water and I called it happy water. The kid loved it. Every time I gave it to him, he thought it was happy water. If he was in a bad mood, he would drink this water, and the water was happy water. And it was just like, his mother still talks about it. He's in the Air Force now. But when he was younger, it was happy water, and it just something silly like that.
Yeah.
They just love stuff like that.
I love that. That's great. And but you're absolutely right. The high fives, the good jobs, and happy water. That's a good one. I love that.
Yeah, I think it actually makes them feel like, oh, just I did something right. I can do things right. When somebody comes in and points out that they did the right thing
Their self-esteem.
without being asked or something like that.
And
So,
and I like Sam also, not just about the happy water, but it's something special. It's between it builds that bond because not everybody has happy water. And so it's also tying noticing and celebrating the successes back to that relationship piece.
yeah,
But I might need happy water, Sam.
that would sell. Just have to bottle it right.
That's it, you guys. We're not doing foster care. We're going on Shark Tank. All right. So, how do we do all of this? Nobody ever knows everything. And so we have to stay curious. We have to continue our learning. We have to expect that our kids, the youth that we're going to serve, want to learn things. And so staying on our toes, helping our youth stay on our toes, helping everybody to stay curious and in that learning mode, and discovering things together can also build on that relationship. So there's actually one of our directors here, and she tells the story about how when her kids were younger, they went through that phase. Why is the sky blue? Why is water wet? Why is the grass green? And she got so overwhelmed with them asking that one day she just said, "I don't know. I don't know why." And this is a long time ago, so she put on their little boots and their rain jackets, and they trudged through the puddles to the library. But it was that moment of doing the activity and looking up some of these answers that helped build the relationship. And it's recalling that memory that later on, years later, builds laughter. And actually, apparently, they all now know why the sky is blue. Okay,
Something
Michelle,
they
anything
learned
to add?
together.
Huh?
Something they learned together, right?
Something they learned together. I never asked her why the sky is blue. I'm gonna have to ask her the next time she tells that story. Anything to add on this?
Um, just, I know that yesterday you had the FFT training. And so in staying curious, I feel like with the youth is getting to, what's the motivator of their behavior? Like, what is the driving force? What is the noble intent? And so staying curious, like, why is a child engaging in this behavior, can also, trying to figure out, with their trauma and what their triggers are, is recognizing something else is also going on, and helping to get to the bottom of it, so in order to help that youth begin um to kind of to regulate, but to also find other tools to kind of like to calm down.
Yes, helping them staying curious about, is this the same cause as last time? Is the same coping skill going to work? And how can we add it to our toolbox, right?
kind of like with that little boy with the drink, the apple juice. I after insisting on being in the front of the line, and we thought that was the issue, and it turned out it wasn't at that time, but later on he repeated the same thing, trying to get to the front of the line again. So the juice didn't work the second time, but the first time it worked. So now we're gonna have to figure it out, how to explain to him that he can't be in the front all the time. Everybody gets a turn.
That's a great example. Michelle, you got this?
Being practical practical and reasonable. I know we mentioned this multiple times throughout is not taking it personal. It's easier said than done. But being able to kind of step back and kind of and recognize that these children that have experienced trauma, have experienced loss, and it's coming from a place that has nothing to do with you. But how do we help? How do we help that that youth? Throughout we're only human, right? So we're going to make mistakes, but it doesn't mean that we can't learn from our mistakes, right? And trying something different, trying something new. Build a practical home and environment. This, how do we help a child feel included in our environment? Where they can help build that, help build the sense of, just a sense of belonging. If there's any safety measures that need to be implemented in the home, this would be the time to kind of think about as well. And to pay, and I can't speak. Anticipate stress points, just kind of like being prepared. Like there are situations that may arise, and how are we going to manage those behaviors, those outbursts, and how do we feel that we can manage our own our own stresses, and find ways to help kind of regulate ourselves in order to help that youth. There's kind of like recognizing that there's a lot going on, but there's time for ourselves too. You got to make time for yourself, whether it be just 5 minutes being outside to take that breather, to take that moment, so that way you can help address whatever the situation is that is happening. There's a foster parent that I had worked with before, and she expressed that, I'm always with the children. I bring them to their after school activities. I bring them here and I bring them there. She was like, but you know what, when it comes close to my birthday, I usually have a girls weekend close to my birthday, and I want that to continue because it's something that she recognizes that it kind of rejuvenates her and kind of gets her going so that way when she returns back to the home, she's able to address and confront any situations that she encounters, once she's back at home. The other piece too is having reasonable expectations. A lot of the kids may have not behavioral.
A lot of the kids come with trauma and they have gaps in their learning. And so
Thank you.
we
Yes.
need to make sure that our expectations are reasonable, not just for their chronological age, but truly for what they have been through. Just because the youth is 12, they may have been homeless for several years. And so they may need to be taught how to use shampoo and conditioner properly. They may, we recently had a foster parent who expected a 6-year-old to know how to wash their own dishes. Well, that 6-year-old hadn't been living in a place that had proper dishes. So the 6-year-old didn't know how to clear the dishes from the table, let alone use the Dawn and the sponge to clean them, right? And so it's really having what is this youth coming in with? And it's setting those expectations high, but reasonable. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Anything to add on that, Michelle?
No, but you hit it on the nose. When they're developmentally behind.
Yeah.
See?
Absolutely. And again, you know, sometimes we're going to think they're one place and we're going to learn that they are someplace else, and we'll have to adjust our expectations accordingly. But I don't
Well,
think, go ahead, sorry.
no, even with our youth, like my nephew, when I used to babysit him when he was younger, I told him to spit after he brushed his teeth, and he had the toothpaste in his mouth, and he's looking at me like, "What?" And I'm like, in my
Yes,
head, I'm like, "You don't know how to spit," like, and like they got even our youth got to be taught. It's like so everybody, and they develop at different ages. So it was like I remember that was so vaguely because it was like and then I called my sister. My sister was like, "No, he doesn't. He's learning." And so, it's just all our kids. We go through it with even our loved ones, but there's different ages.
and Sam, you just hit exactly what I was going to say. I said it, and I feel like whether you're in foster care or not, there are things you have to be taught along the way, and every family, every individual teaches things differently. I tell the story. I'm a certified life skills teacher, and I tell the story. Growing up, my mom and dad were very into the fresh vegetables. That was just that's their thing. And so, but this is going to sound really funny, but when I grew up and I got out of college, my first apartment, I was super excited to buy canned vegetables because I never had them. And I was like, I can make my own decisions. I'm buying canned vegetables. So here I am cooking dinner by myself, first night in my new apartment, and I'm looking at the can of corn and I'm like, well, there's no directions on it. I have no idea how to make canned corn. And I'm in my 20s. Everybody learns things at different stages.
Right. I got a real practical one for you that everybody should have learned during COVID. It's just simply washing your hands properly, like the little ones, especially, because they're touching everything and digging everything all day long. You send a child to the bathroom to wash their hands. That's, you're better off going and seeing how they wash their hands, you know, and let them know that you don't just put the soap and rinse it off. You have to scrub and all of
Absolutely.
that. Yeah.
And that's not even only kids. I see adults does walk in the
Even
back, just
adults,
rub the
yeah.
water underneath their hand and they go away.
Mhm.
Amen.
Kids.
Yeah, you're all so right. So right on all of that. All right. Michelle, you going or?
Where did I put my notes? Hold on.
Okay. So we talked about that. We'll give Michelle a second to gather her thoughts and I'll kick us off. That we know that if that we as we learn things, it's like a building block. We're building on top of what we learned previously, right? And so we think about a baby. They learn to sit up, then they learn to scoot, then they learned to crawl. And then, all of that generally happens before they're running. And so we have to think about what skills, we've just talked about some of this, what skills are they missing? So, before we can expect them or us even as right in the parenting to have the end result of the skill. And so we may have to backtrack and teach them some of the fill in the gap skills. And some of our kids are going to come in and they're going to present as super mature, super street smart, but they're missing those back skills. And so we've got to take the time to build on those skills. And that also goes for our relationship with everybody. When you first when you first met your significant other or your best friend, it takes time to build that trust. It takes time to build that rapport with someone. And so it's going to be that same thing. We have to remember that there's increments in building relationships and skills. Anything else, Michelle?
No, no. Just, you know what, and I think it's further ahead, and I think that's what's throwing me off. So I'll hold off on those thoughts.
Okay. Do you want to talk about prudent parent?
For a prudent parent,
So let's back. It's actually called the Reasonable and Prudent Parent Standard, RPPS. It is shortened to prudent parent. Go ahead, Michelle.
so, and, I want to say most of you also, viewed the video that speaks to that prudent parent. I want to say some of you had completed that and we have, the certificates on file. But, reasonable and prudent parent standard, it allows foster parents to make parental decisions about maintaining the health, safety, and best interest of the child, as well as decisions about the child's participation in extracurricular enrichment and cultural and social activities. So at one point, foster parents weren't allowed to make a decision and give permission for the child to attend after, like summer camps or, sports activities. And so with this standard, what it allows foster parents now to make a decision, looking at the child overall, developmentally, how is the child socially, so in order to encourage those normal activities that other kids get to enjoy as well. Being able to attend sports, being able
to have sleepovers.
right. The other as well as other kids are going on school trips. And so when the department is required to give that permission, some time is needed to get those proper permission forms signed, and so that child ends up losing out. Same thing with summer camps. There's only a certain amount of slots open, and once they fill, they fill. And so this allows foster parents now to encourage the child to have as much normalcy as possible. Like Mindy said, allowing for sleepovers, but again, using that judgment and using the gathering as much information beforehand. First off is what's your comfort level as allowing in sleepovers. Maybe at the start is having that friend sleep over your house so that way you get to know how they interact. Having that child sleep over someone else's house, you may want to be able to get in touch with that parent and say, who's going to be there? What are the rules of the home? What are getting to know that other parent, exchanging phone numbers in case something were to happen. But it's trusting the foster parent that they're going to take proper measures to keep that child safe in these different activities.
This does allow you to sign certain forms. It does not allow you to sign any type of legal waiver for a child. You can sign that like they can go at Urban Air, but you can't sign for a heart transplant. Does that make sense? There's a distinct difference there. And it does not allow you to sign for insurance, like medical insurance. Okay. So anywhere that you do sign, cross out where it says guardian and make sure you are writing foster parent. Check with us. Hey, I want to sign them up for the after school program. Can I sign all this paperwork? You can screenshot it to us. You can scan it to us. We'll just take a quick look at it for you. Never sign that you are responsible for payment. because the place will hold you to that. So again, that medical legal piece and payment, I advise you to never sign without running it by someone. Make sense? And always cross out guardian and write foster parent. Oh, well, we did all of these at once.
I
So
was just gonna say, we did all that.
we did that. Good for us. High five. All right, let's watch these 2 clips and we'll see that, you know, how this parent is welcoming a new child into their home, and we'll talk about your thoughts on each and which one might seem more appropriate for you. Is everybody okay if I play them back to back and then we talk about it? Does that seem fair? Okay.
We are so excited you're finally here. I just wanted to say right away, you can call me Mom. Don't have to call me Mrs. Stevens, okay? And we want to hear all about you at dinner time. Tell us where you've been. Tell us what you like. Tell us everything.
I'm supposed to call her Mom? I don't even know her. I have to say stuff about myself. I don't want to talk to anyone. What does she want to know about me anyway? I just really want to go home right now.
Also wanted to tell you, we made barbecue ribs for dinner tonight. I know you're going to love them. Everybody loves barbecue, right? Right?
I hate barbecue, and I don't like it here. I just really want to go home.
Oh, and I want you to feel like you're part of the family right away. And since everyone in the family has chores, I thought a good one for you would be to set the table. So you can get right to that as soon as you're ready.
I have to set the table? I don't know where anything is in this house. I feel really sick.
What's wrong with you?
I'm not really feeling well. I don't want to eat. Could I go to my room?
What's wrong with this child? I made her a special dinner and she doesn't even seem to appreciate it. So Becca, now that you're all settled in your room, is there anything that I could get for you?
No, I'm fine.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I realize it's almost dinner time, and we've never even talked about what you like to eat. So I made a list of the food that I usually make. There's a bunch of different things. If you could take a chance and just look and see what you like, and you can even circle the things or star the ones you like the best, and also let me know what you don't like to eat. I know nobody in this house likes liver or Brussels sprouts.
I don't like Brussels sprouts.
A lot of people don't. I'm glad to know that. Thanks for telling me. The other thing I wanted to do is, once we get dinner figured out, let's take a tour around the kitchen so you know where everything is. I want you to know that the kitchen is your kitchen too. I always have that big bowl of snacks over there, and you're welcome to take a snack anytime you want. All the kids know that that's true. Right now it's all full of healthy things, so there's nothing in there you couldn't eat. But tomorrow when I go grocery shopping, if you want to come with me, you could pick some kind of a dessert or some sweet snack to add.
Okay. I like cookies.
You do? Great.
Yeah.
What kind is your favorite?
I like Oreos.
That's our favorite too. That'll be perfect. We'll get some of those tomorrow.
Okay.
All right, great.
Immediate reactions.
The first video that she wasn't that welcoming. I mean, she wanted her own way. Her things. She didn't get to know the child at all.
Or she was pushing the child to talk about herself on the first day. And she's like, wait, I don't even know you. I don't feel comfortable like talking to you about. She's like, where have you been? You gotta tell me everything, you know? And it's like that even for a regular person, I'm like, that's a lot, you know?
Yes.
Lorraine's like, back out of my business.
Right.
Sorry, Lorraine, I just saw your request in the chat.
It's okay.
The she made the in the second video she made the young person the foster child feel comfortable giving her a voice to voice what she like a voice to that she have snacks available, making her feel part of the home, and definitely not telling her what she have to eat when she first meet her. She could, you could say, yeah, I'm having chicken tonight, because that's what the family's having. But what do you like other than chicken or other than the barbecue ribs? You could have said, she could have said it a lot different the first one.
I'll add to that the child probably felt like she was going to be interrogated on the first day. So it was a bit too much too quickly. Yeah, just me, just as an individual, just meeting somebody for the first time, that's too much. I'm just saying. And in the second video, it showed it much more appropriate. She sat down, wasn't doing something else while she was talking with the child. She gave her full attention. And have her tour the place and see where everything is and so forth, and tell her where to find certain things, and even finding something in common, the cereal, that they shared something in common right there. And that was a good start. I think a better start.
It seemed like that video, the first video, was kind of it was kind of weird. I was thinking that we went to a boarding home or something, like in one of those movies where you like, this is the wicked stepmother. So that's what I was thinking. Like, even though it was a clip we was watching, it was like we're watching a movie inside of a movie. So I was kind of nervous. Like, I can't even think of a movie. You know how like the mother come out with like some weird food or something, and you like, oh my God, I stopped at the wrong house. It gave off those vibes.
Okay, well, I'm not watching that movie. How about in the first clip when she said, "You can call me mom"?
Yeah, that was a little bit too much. That was a bit too much for her not even really knowing her. You're getting used to her.
How do you
I think
approach? Go ahead, sorry.
I think something like Mr. Sam. I would like the young kids to put a handle on my name because we're not equal. So Mr. Sam, it's still, that, it's not like Mr. Nesbitt. Mr. Sam, I think is appropriate. Yeah, it's less formal, and I don't want young people to feel like I'm equal with Mr. Sam. So I don't want them to call me dad. That's the way I feel.
Yeah. What about, and I hear you and I respect that. What about giving them some type of choice though? Saying like, hey, what are you comfortable? Like, what do you think you might want to call me? Like, where are you at?
I think, first off, because you being a foster parent and me being a parent, I would like, I wouldn't want them to call me mom, because not for me saying like, nah, I don't want you to call me mom. Like, if one day they call me that, I'll be kind of surprised and happy, but like, I wouldn't force them to call me that, because you remember you trying to have this open relationship with a parent, and it's like, how dare you try to make me call you mom? You're not my mom. And I laugh now. My grown kids, I told you they're older, the ones that's 21, because people never believe that they're my kids because we look the same age and we in Target, and they say, Mom, my son with a beard. I turn around and look with the lady. She said, I think he's calling you. I said, I don't know him. My name is Crystal. So in aspects like that, I'll let them, make they own decisions. Like my nieces and nephews, 18, 19, and I don't know what they call me. They call me Miss Lady, Miss Girl, Hey Girl. I don't even know my nephews. They call me all different kind of things. It depends on the reason and the season they calling. So I think the same thing with the foster kid. I think it got to be something they want to do, because imagine if they went to 12 different places and everybody said, "Call me mom, call me mom."
Exactly.
And I don't like,
Exactly.
especially with little girls. Another thing, I don't like little girls with everybody daddy, daddy, daddy. It's a different thing with a little girl, because you remember that's a long-term thing. So especially with little girls, like even if they call them like uncle, like my husband, I wouldn't have them call my husband daddy. Even if I adopted them, it'll probably be Uncle Calvin or whatever. Like I said, even with me, Miss Crystal, hey girl, whatever. But I wouldn't have them call my husband daddy. That's not their dad. He can always be an uncle.
Yeah. And I think, and Crystal, you're right, as particularly with the mom and dad thing. And, Sam, I hear you with there is a hierarchy here, right? But I think for me, giving them some say. So, hey, you could call me Mr. Sam, you could call me Mr. N, you could call me Mr. Cool, right? Like, and letting them know that there is within these parameters, there is they have a say in that level of comfort. But that's where I come from. It has to feel comfortable for you too, if that makes sense.
Yes.
But I do think there has to be a conversation about it. And that could be the conversation. Hey, like, how are we going to refer to each other? Right? Like, that could be the start of that conversation. Michelle, anything?
No, but it's all part of getting to know one another, and kind of like prepping, because you may encounter situations where, when you go out somewhere, or if you attend a school function, and having those conversations beforehand, so that way and the youth knows how you guys are going to introduce each other in that type of setting. Which could alleviate some of I know for myself, like, just, going somewhere and encountering other individuals, and I'm mindful as to who I have with me. So when introducing, family members to others, it's like, all right, how am I gonna do this? Because I don't want to offend anyone. So I have those conversations beforehand in order to do that.
Okay. So we've talked about um, the first two. We've talked about the relationship, and in looking at how to be proactive. We've talked about adding that a little bit of flexibility into this, particularly in trying to give some choices. Um, we emphasize a lot of pre-teaching with foster kids. Let them know what the expectations are in advance. Let them know what the plan is. Let them know what to what to expect. You may be taking them to lake compounds for the first time. They may never have been to a theme park. Go online and show them things. Let them know it's going to be noisy. Explain to them what waiting in line is. Have a plan for when they get bored in line, right? Those are all the types of things that we talk about in being proactive. If you're going on a long car ride, let them know how long it's going to be. Make sure you're packing things for them to do. All of that is about being proactive and explaining in advance to them. Anticipate their triggers. We can't avoid triggers for us or for our youth, but we can anticipate them, and we can try and plan around them, and we can try and minimize them. I would love to tell you that it's completely possible to build a worry-free routine and your life will never ever be stressful. But that is not reality either. So we're going to do as much as we can. We're going to build in times where there is downtime, where we can relieve stress, and where the youth can stick to that schedule as much as possible. Michelle?
Yeah, I'm just, just thinking of, just, an example, just in regards to like planning, planning ahead, that car ride, or even just simply waiting in a doctor's office. I know for some, it can be stressful just sitting there waiting. So again, anticipate what can you do for that youth to help calm them during that time. And just in different, in different settings, just kind of taking that mindset as to what can I do for the child if they start feeling a particular way? And sometimes, like Mindy had said, planning ahead, like letting them know this is how long it's going to be. This is what we can do if you get bored, or this is what we can do if you feel nervous about something. We could only try to anticipate, but, reactions, but sometimes things happen that that takes us like, through a loop, like, well, wait a minute, what just happened? So just, being able to step back, plan as much as possible, but there may be situations where, something can unexpectedly occur.
So when something does become overstimulating, we want to try to be ahead of it. We want to maybe go someplace different. We want to try and involve others, right? It's okay to ask for help. There's a reason that there's on call. On call is not there to parent for you or to undermine your parenting, but it is there to help you in those times where there is that overstimulation for you and the youth. This is also potentially a time when there is overstimulation that it might be appropriate, if it's safe, to switch up that routine. Michelle?
No, on here it says like going places, and I know like, different settings can trigger different thoughts in a youth. And at times it's, how do we, how can we help the child find that space just to get away from the noise, get away from the activity, to allow the child to kind of be, for you to be with the child to help calm them in those situations. And sometimes it could be, oh, let's go take a walk to the car, and we can sit there, put the AC on, listen to low music to help the child calm down. And sometimes you'll be able to have a conversation to get to how they're feeling. So just being mindful that some different places can trigger a youth.
So we talked about pre-teaching like 2 slides ago, but in addition to pre-teaching for the child, explaining it to the people around you too, right? Your family, your friends, they need to know what is going on for this youth, and what that you've gotten a placement. What are the youths, what may change for you? How that the youth might need space, or the youth might have to sit next to you at a holiday or an event. And so making sure that you're keeping those in your circle of trust informed, as well as pre-teaching for that child.
Sometimes it's hard to prep our families too, like prep our family members too, because sometimes they do get defensive, depending on what, as to what you may do for that child, especially if they're escalated. I know for one, family, they went to a family event and they expected to stay the whole time of the event, and the family, made a decision because the child wasn't able to handle what was going on, and their emotions were high and alert, the family decided, you know what, we're gonna leave the event. You know, so again, that family kept, the child's safety in mind, and also the safety of the other, you know, being mindful of the other people that were around. And so, again, being mindful of everyone, but keeping the child, first in that moment.
And that family did a great job of explaining before the event that this could have occurred, so that everybody there was supportive and helpful in getting them to the car and getting them to safety and out. And so we really talk about that flexible, right? And Michelle just gave a a great example of it, right? Of leaving us someplace early. And we've talked about changing up our routines, even though we want to be consistent. And so that flexibility is really key, particularly when we are going new places and we don't know if something's going to trigger that youth. And so we know we want to be as worry free as we can, in that we want to minimize the stimulation in the youth. We don't want to minimize the youth. I'm sorry, that came out so wrong. We want to minimize the overstimulation and the triggers that are in the environment for the youth, and so that we can focus on the child and what is going on, and that your focus isn't on all those extraneous factors. But we recognize that unpredictable things happen. Anything to add? Did you freeze, Michelle?
No,
Yeah.
no, I was just thinking about, like, what was mentioned, in last class is, being mindful of our reactions that could impact, the reaction of the child, and just kind of approach a situation where that you're grounded and that you're regulated, where you're approaching the child in a calm manner. And that will help the child to also remain calm, because you're going to mimic that energy and mimic that behavior.
Yeah, and actually, a little bit later, we'll talk about attunement, which is exactly what you bring up, Michelle. So if you haven't seen this movie, it's a great movie. And so here's a clip from Instant Family. Take a minute to think about the escalation and how you might have avoided it.
Okay. Barbie! No, this isn't even a real Barbie. You've got a real Barbie at home that Santa gave you a few weeks ago.
Santa got me a fat Barbie. I want a skinny Barbie.
She's not fat. She's body positive.
Dana, hey, if you put the doll back, I'll get you a giant ice cream sundae.
So you're
You want a
rewarding
giant
this
ice cream
behavior?
sundae?
What are you thinking?
You handle it. Juan, come on, get out of there, please.
Don't hit me. Don't hit me. Don't
What?
hit me.
I didn't. I didn't hit him, okay? I never have hit him. I would never hit a kid.
No. Right now, you're not getting lunch or dinner. We're not starving people here, okay? I have this under control. I am so...
Yell you body positive whore.
Okay, you're done. Give me that. Give it to me. Hey, just give me that now. Oh, yeah, really looks like you've got it.
Get it.
No, we're not. No, we're not doing this. Someone videotaping this? Pete, where are you? Where's Pete? You're done. Oh, great. You're out there. Thank you so much.
Hey, sweetie, I brought the car up, saved you a little walking time.
We had a front space.
Well, it's still closer.
Hey, Pete, look at my pretty new doll.
Oh, wow. Oh, you caved, huh?
No, I did not cave. I bought it for her. It was only $4.
Okay. How might you have handled that situation? No criticizing that foster. No criticizing that foster parent. She had a lot going on. Not to criticize, but how might you have handled that?
I probably would have had the dad bring the kid out to the car, the ones that were having a hard time. So she could finish the shopping because they gotta eat. You know, you can just leave the supermarket. You can just leave the supermarket, but with two adults there, I think divide and conquer might be a good idea right there.
Excellent plan. Anybody else?
I think because she was so fixated on that doll, I think we could, in that moment, come up with an idea if she didn't want to get her the doll right now, saying, you know, I will get you the doll, not right now. Let's focus or try to redirect her. And when you do follow through and do get the doll, but try to come up with a plan of when you can earn the doll, when you can get it. We just can't get it right now.
So not saying completely no, saying when.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
that.
Right.
When you earn it.
Yeah, I would have had a talk. I would have pulled her to the side and had a conversation with her and let her know that that behavior doesn't get you things that you want. Or I would have just got her the doll, and when we got to the car, then I would have gave her a conversation and told her, you know, that behavior doesn't get you what you want. Da 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 da. We're gonna hold on to this doll until we get to the home, and you know, it's so many different ways that you can go about that. But at that moment, I probably would have gave her the doll.
And so your statement, there's so many different ways you could handle that, is 100% correct. And what everybody said here, none of that is right, or nobody's right over anybody else. There are so many different ways to handle it. Now you have seen that this little one, in all likelihood, the next time you go to a store, she's going to ask for something, right? She's in all likelihood one of those kids that when you walk down an aisle, I want this, I want this, I want this. So what's your plan for going to a store with her next time?
I think you have a conversation prior to going in the store. We're going in the store, what you're actually going to buy, and that we are not going to deviate from that. We're going to purchase, if we're going in for sugar or flour or rice, whatever the case may be. And those are and actually have a list and show her the list and say, these are the things that we're here to purchase. We are not going to be purchasing anything that's not on this list.
The pre-teaching.
Yeah.
Great idea, Lorraine. Any other thoughts?
Hey, Lorraine, you might want to add to that too, that oh geez, it just went out of my head. Okay, so you were gonna okay, I don't think I would reward her by giving her the doll in the first place. But yeah, well, along with you making a shopping list, have her help you make the shopping list, you know, so she takes ownership of some of that. And maybe give her a job when she goes to the store. Your job is to remember what we have on the list and have her pick up some of the stuff or something like that, you know?
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Engage her in the trip.
Yeah.
Not like our parents. Don't look at nothing, don't pick up
Don't
nothing.
touch nothing.
But I think sometimes, I think sometimes giving the dog, giving in at that moment wouldn't have been the worst thing. And then afterwards, when you got in the car, you could take it, either get it back and say you gotta earn this or something like that. But just to diffuse the whole situation like the sister did, she said it was $4. You buy the doll, you get in the car, and then you talk about it. I think it would, especially if the child is new to the home.
Yeah, she was new.
She was new to the home, so right at that moment, you really don't know her. So you would be able to teach her something after that. But maybe you could get the doll, just diffuse it, and then you could always take it back in the car and say, no, that wasn't right. But you already diffused it in the store, so it's not a big public thing.
Yeah. There's no easy answer when you're in a store like that. And it was the older daughter or the older sister, right? She's like, is everybody getting this on camera? right?
Mhm.
Especially in those situations now when
Yeah.
you know somebody's getting it on camera.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
Michelle, any thoughts?
Um, like in the video, like recognizing when you're escalated, recognizing when you're escalated, that there's times where it's to walk away and not throw the object like the foster mom did.
That's a good point. She did throw it. Yes, she did.
Like she could have hit someone. I mean, but just being mindful of our, of our own reaction and seeing and feeling, because in those moments like that, when all eyes are on you, you start feeling like your own body temperature changing, recognizing those things. And if there's a way where if there is someone else with you, like going to the store a second time, maybe it is you call a family member or someone and say, hey, how about you come with me? Just to see if a situation like that occurs, you have someone that can help you in that, in that moment. Like I want to say, like Doreen said, like there was someone, the foster father was there. He could have taken the kids to the car. And so kind of prepping for that. Um, or also, if there is that possibility, maybe that's the opportunity to say, hey, I want to go to the store by myself. It's my time to just kind of, for myself to kind of regroup. I know, recently, uh, um, it was me. I had actually gone to the store. Not something like this.
Guilty.
But my daughter kept asking, can I get this? Can I get this? And we already had a conversation in the car. And I kept saying, remember what we had spoken about. And just kept going back to that. And she just kept insisting. And every time I turned around, I'm like, what is going on? And I warned her. I said, look, if you continue on, I'm going to leave everything here and I'll just come another time to come to get what we need. And sure enough, she did it 2 more times and I left the cart and I walked out the store with her. But again, being able, because I was aware of like the people around. She kept insisting and insisting, and no matter what I said, to try to redirect and bring it back to our conversation, keeping my cool. But then I was like, all right, and at this point, I'm just gonna leave everything here. Let's go. Let's go. Uh, it's tough. It's when you're in the moment,
Yeah, sometimes you just have to do that. So we're gonna have salad for dinner and no fried chicken because we had to leave the supermarket, leave all the chicken there. I don't think they would like salad. Yeah.
I think the husband could have been more supportive too.
Yeah. He just
He
ran.
kind of ran out and got the car. He just didn't want no part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he could have been more supportive.
Okay. So we're going to look at our 3 R's again with our and how we're going to implement them. All right. So we're at the top of the pyramid, guys. So we have our steps: safety, tone of voice, empathy, positive reinforcement, and support. So if we're looking, you okay, Michelle?
Yeah, I went to say something and was like, whoa.
Go ahead, chime in. It's all you. You got this.
For safety, we want to prioritize the safety of people, pets, ourselves, the child. And removing, sometimes it could be removing them from that space. So that way to create a safety for everyone and for the surroundings.
Safety is always first.
Yeah. Our tone of voice, again, being mindful of our tone of voice. it can be a trigger for a child, but approaching that youth in a calm voice, if you're loud, the child is either going to match it or ignore it, right? But if it's low and calm, it helps the child to also kind of like come down as well. So being mindful of that. Having empathy and validating that, giving validation out loud for the child's feelings. Not resorting to those consequences, but validating what they're saying, like, oh, this must be hard, right? Because it may not it may have been something that they haven't been given or been told, but recognizing that with the things that they've experienced, and validating for them, like there are things that, that was out of their control. It wasn't, it wasn't their fault. So having empathy for that child. Positive reinforcement during the escalation. A lot of, limit the amount of words that we're saying. Sometimes, like even sometimes for myself, I go in circles. And when I'm, talking that way to a youth who is, escalated, I've already lost them. Less means more. And again, using that calm tone.
Yeah, when a youth is already escalated, their brain can't process what you're telling them. And so it is really using very simple commands. And so it's almost, and I really hate to compare, but it is almost like talking to a dog or a cat. You need to sit. Right? It's a directive. If you ask a question, you leave room for an answer that you don't like. So it's truly, you need to get off the monkey bars. Right? It is a very simple directive, and you just keep repeating it. Sorry, my mouse froze. Okay.
How can you use your safety and support plan? Again, is there someone that you could kind of like tap out to, depending as to what's going on? Maybe that other individual, it has a better connection with the youth, and being able to step away to allow that interaction to occur in order for that child to start calming down. Recognizing how we're reacting to the situation. You may find that you may need kind of like to step back for a few minutes, take those deep breaths, so that way you can go back and address the situation. Asking yourself the question, is there someone else that can help address the situation, and so to help that child calm down. Some of the things not to do, again, because it could cause a child to quickly re-escalate if they haven't gotten to that point, is don't yell or mimic the child's behaviors. Like, oh, what's the matter? What, things like that could potentially re-trigger the child. Don't blame or shame yourself or the child. Avoid power struggles. Such as insisting they follow a particular role during these moments, because again, it's almost like their brain has shut down. So you giving them a directive and keep insisting on it, they're not at that point in time, they're not listening, they're not hearing it.
Right. cleaning their room is out of the question at that point. It's all about that safety.
Mhm.
So self-harming, we do have youth that do self-harm, and for them, it is not necessarily about wanting um, to be lethal. It's not a lethal means. It's a way to express the intensity of the feelings that are inside of them. Self-harming can be cutting, it can be burning, it could be biting, it could be head banging, picking. There's an array of self-harming. The marks could range from being subtle to being extremely noticeable. A lot of self-harmers will try and cover up those marks. And we tend to see it spike during particularly stressful periods for them. And they're the ones that define stress, not us. If we know that a youth has a history of self-harm, we will absolutely disclose it to you, and we will disclose as much as we know about it. What is the type of self-harm? What type of implements do they use? Do they use their nails? Do they use the tips of pencils? Do they use razor blades? Do they use paper clips? Right? We will earring backs. Yeah, Michelle, you're right. What do they use? We will tell you as much as we can. And again, a lot of people will view them as signs of suicidality, but when you talk to the youth, they have no intent. They have no plan. They do not have a will to die. It's for them, it's that the physical pain is more tolerable than the emotional pain. Michelle, any?
No, just, there, um, it just recalls a youth that we had. And that's exactly how she had described it, is that she didn't, with all the thoughts and those feelings, she being able to feel the physical pain, it redirected those thoughts. And so she was able to focus on the pain that she was feeling in this situation on her arm, than the pain she was feeling emotionally. And she did say, she goes, I'm not looking to die. She's like, but this is more manageable for me than having to think, that I had to constantly always think about it.
I want to
Any?
add something. Can I add something real quick?
Please.
Remember
Please.
in the videos we watched the other day when the child was saying that sometimes somebody can hurt you so much until it don't hurt anymore? Um, there is a loss of feeling sometimes, and sometimes the self-harm can be a part of just feeling something. They can't feel their bodies, they can't feel their skin. And this helps to bring back some kind of sensation to their bodies.
Yeah, I mean, Doreen, you're right. Sometimes that trauma can be so deep that they feel like nobody else can do anything to make them hurt any worse, right? And so that again, that physical pain helps them realize that there's still feelings, right? That there's still a sense of being.
Scary stuff.
And so again, with that self-harm, the key is really looking at, is this suicidal, or is this a coping skill? And that really tells us in how do we manage this? So in thinking about some of the behaviors, not just the self-harm, but some of the youth who maybe they maybe it's aggression, or maybe it is turning to drugs. What are some of your fears in parenting youth with behaviors? and what's something you can
If I had a
do.
youth, if I had a youth that like playing with fire,
Mm.
that would be one of my fears.
Yeah, that's
Or a youth that like taking stealing. That would be one of my fears. I think those two are my, you know.
yeah. So go ahead.
So with the fire started, from what I know, that usually when they do fire started, or they're afraid of like water, like shower water, like anything like sprinklers, like anything over them, that's a sign of sexual abuse. I learned that a long time ago. Um, I will call what you call it? I will call y'all to like talk about it, because it would be questions to be asked.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
And so, Sam, I just to address the fire starter, the fire setting, we are very careful. We do some intense screening if we have a referral for a kid with a fire starting history. We get a lot of information. So that's a red flag for our program. The stealing, I think everybody defines stealing differently. But yeah, if we're talking stealing cars, if we're talking
Yeah.
credit card theft, those types of things, that is, if we're talking taking the $50 bill you left on the table, um, for 2 days. So, again, everybody defines stealing differently. We've had foster parents define stealing as taking snacks out of the pantry.
Okay, my concern would be something like, well, you do the fire starter already, running away, or I guess, you're gonna have some kids that do want to run away. That's probably more frequent than not. Um, okay, so sexual abuse, but being cruel to animals, for example, like I'm gonna get more pets. I've had pets. And I'm hoping to get a cat real soon, or a pair of kitties.
Oh,
Yeah. So if a kid is gonna be hurting the cat or other kids like that, then I have a problem. That would be very concerning to me. Uh, physically
I'm
abused.
with you, Doreen. To me, my dog is like a child.
What?
absolutely. So the animal cruelty, that is part of our matching criteria. If you have a pet in your home, and that we're going to specifically ask that question about a youth that's referred to us. Obviously, if the youth has never lived with an animal before, right, we may not know. And so what we're always going to tell you is, this is a learning opportunity. You need to have supervised visitation between the youth and the animal. They need, again, it's one of those skills that they've never been taught. And so you need to teach. Because some of these youth have never been exposed to living with animals before, right? The AWOL, Doreen, you're not wrong that we do have youth that AWOL, but there's some proactive things we do about it. We try and find out, where are they AWOLing? Why are they AWOLing? Can we establish a relationship with the person that they're always running to, so that they don't have to AWOL to see this person,
Right, okay.
right? And then if for whatever reason we cannot establish that relationship, that ongoing if DCF says, no, I'm sorry, we can't approve them to see that person, can we at least get phone numbers, so that when this youth does disappear, we can reach out and say, are they there? So that we're not always calling the police. right? So we do some proactive things around the AWOL, understanding that there's probably limits put on this youth's life that they didn't ask to have put there. And there's probably some boundaries around who they can and can't see that they didn't ask for. And so we talked about that developmental stage where they're trying to find themselves and they're trying to have a peer group, and here's outside people saying, sorry, nope, can't talk to that person.
Yeah.
And then, like, what
I have
happened?
a question.
What if they AWOL with somebody and bring them back to your house? You know, what if it's an unsafe person that they going out with, and then that they know where you live at, coming back to who they might be bringing back to your house.
Yeah, and so Sophia, you're not wrong there either. What we ask is that we understand that in the long run, that might not, the placement may no longer be viable, right? Because this youth has now put you and your family in an unsafe situation. But what we ask is right now, let that youth back in and give us 48 hours to find a new placement, right?
Right.
Give us a little bit of time.
Right.
I have a question. Going back to earlier, so I know y'all get children from 8 to and up until like what they said 16, 17.
Right.
But do y'all ever get babies?
So babies only if they're coming with their teenage mommy. But do we get younger than 8? Yes, we do occasionally get younger than 8. But there is a reason that they're being referred to us. They have some significant behaviors. There's aggression. There's, a lot of difficulties in school, things of that nature.
I was only asking because y'all was speaking about the mommy, calling you mommy, and so I was wondering, like, what if you have a child, a baby? What if you get someone, it's like a baby, like maybe 1 or 2, and you have them for a while, and they see, everybody else calling the adults mommy, daddy. They really don't know the difference because they're used to you. Like, how do you but y'all don't get anyone that age. That's why I asked the question first.
Yeah. We do get some youth that are developmentally delayed. We had a 8-year-old come in who was on the autism spectrum, and his language skills were not spontaneous. He kind of just repeated what was around him. And so he did call the foster parent mama because that's what everybody else called her, right? That's what her biological children in the home called her.
Right.
And he was 8. And so we have had younger kids, and again, it's a little situation specific. We have had kids come in that are on that, 5, 6, 7, even 8 side that they do want a mom or they do want a dad. And so they will call you mom or dad. And that's a conversation that as a family unit, you'll need to figure out.
Oh. Okay. Thank you.
And if that's uncomfortable for you guys to figure out, that's what the FFT team is there for.
Right. Okay.
Is to help you navigate that conversation.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
One or 2 skills that you've learned in this lesson. Being spontaneous, flexible. That's almost the same thing, but not quite.
I think also we talked about being curious because no one knows everything, right? So we're always learning. So constantly being curious.
Right.
Yeah.